why everyone is struggling with chronic illness, disease, cancer. I think there's really big four with two things on the outside looking in. The big four, uh, radiation, toxic heavy metals. There's been a viral explosion of herpetic viruses and old DDT pesticide. Um, and on the outside looking in, I would say strep bacteria. Strep's causing a lot of problems with chronic illness right now. And secondly, I would say the adrenaline factor, stress, trauma, which equals adrenaline, which is the other real instigating factor here. Uh, at the top of the list, I think really right now is the viral explosion, the family of herpetic viruses, Epstein-Barr virus. There's over 65 strains. We have shingles and non-rashing shingles, over 30 different strains. HHV6, 7, 8. They've got undiscovered, 10, 11, 12. So the herpetic viruses are really a problem now. And the reason that they're becoming so aggressive and mutating so quickly is because of the toxins that have gotten inside of us. The toxins are feeding these viral pathogens, and it's causing them to become more aggressive, more mutated, and more problematic. So the viral explosion for sure, and that's flying under the radar. Medical science lacks the technology. When it comes to trying to see these viruses, once they're in tissue, they can only see active blood infections, and they intentionally don't want the technology right now to exist to see these viral pathogens in places like the liver and the GI tract, wherever it may be, up in the brain. Number two biggest problem, toxic heavy metals. Part of all the toxins we deal with. Toxic heavy metals are a huge issue right now. It's a virus's favorite food source, especially an Epstein-Barr virus, loves to feed off. These viruses have to feed, and they love to feed off metals, mercury in particular. So metals are everywhere. We're getting a metal exposure left and right. We've got it being passed down through the family line. So there's inheritance, just like the viruses, by the way. We also inherit viruses from mom and dad. Number three, radiation is still a huge problem right now. We can simply neglect what a problem it is. There's still radiation, tons of radiation in the atmosphere from nuclear disasters like Hiroshima and Nagasaki and places like Chernobyl. There's radiation everywhere. Everyone's getting imaging left and right. Radiation's a big factor here in lowering the immune system and allowing things like toxic heavy metals and viruses to become more problematic. And then lastly, DDT pesticide. It's an old pesticide that was sprayed here in the 50s and 60s. It's now banned, but still sprayed in other parts of the world. DDT pesticide is now in our water supplies. It's in our ground. It's in our food still, and along with other herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. That is really, I think, the fourth and final area of why everyone's really suffering. We've got all these things in our body. These are all troublemakers that were not designed to be in our bodies, and we are paying the price right now in really, really terrible ways when it comes to chronic illness, disease, and cancer. On the outside looking in, obviously, we talked about Streptococcus bacteria has been upgrading from the antibiotics that we treat it with from the time we're children. Strep is very strong now. It's in people's guts, reproductive systems, and their lymphatic systems and livers, as well as their sinuses. And it's a Epstein-Barr virus's best friend or cofactor. So strep's a big problem. And then we have the adrenaline factor. We have a more stressful life than we ever have. We're up against more things when it comes to trauma and stress than ever before. And when you're under the gun and you're under stress and life's throwing things at you, your adrenals are producing adrenaline. And adrenaline is really the ultimate trigger when it comes to chronic illness and disease taking off. Because it lowers an immune system like no other. It's also very acidic, very corrosive. It fuels pathogens, and it makes metals in the brain oxidize or rust even quicker. So a lot of people can see illness pops up, new symptoms pop up, something gets worse after a really stressful or traumatic time. So that's the adrenaline factor when it comes to that. So those six things combined, I think, are really what's causing things here. And all things that just aren't designed to be in our body and fortunately we have ways to get them out, just no one knows how. No one knows they're dealing with these things, so therefore, no one knows what they need to go after when they're trying to heal from something.
Right. And what would you say to someone who's like, oh, well, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm not exposed to any of that? Because I feel like I hear people say that all the time where they're like, oh, well, that wouldn't affect me. But I feel like to your point, so many people don't realize how many things they're actually exposed to on a day-to-day basis that are, making this full picture of what's going on with our body.
I mean, look, if you don't think you're exposed to anything, you're just being a dope. There's no way around it. Like, you could live as clean as you want. The bottom line is there's still radiation in the atmosphere right now. Not even half of it has dropped from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the air we breathe in is loaded with radiation. There's mercury in the air still. Um, you know, uh, our food supply. Just look at food chemicals. It's another way that we're bringing things. I don't care how clean you try to eat. Even an organic piece of produce they still have a threshold where they're still allowed to spray some pesticide on it. Everyone gets imaging. Everyone is exposed to other people carrying other pathogens. People are passing around Epstein-Barr virus like crazy. So if you don't think you're getting exposed to things, you're dead wrong. And even if you weren't getting exposed to things, there is inheritance. It looks like a genetic issue, and they played the gene blame game for a long time. Chronic illness does not come from genetics. It comes from mom and dad passing down their viral loads, their toxin loads, their radiation loads, their pesticide loads. Mom and dad pass down their troublemaker loads to their children. So it's already in you. You don't have a choice. You're born with it. And then if you go get vaccinated as a child, it's already coming into you. So you can't avoid it. There's no way. All you can do is pull it out, and you don't want to drive yourself crazy, but with trying to avoid exposure, you do the best you can. But in the world we live in, there's no avoiding it. There's no avoiding these troublemakers that are creating chronic illness in this day and age.
Right. And to your point about people blaming genes, what's your whole take on everybody saying like, oh, it's just because I have the MTHFR or whatever that gene is, and blaming issues they have or things they can't have on that gene?
The MTHFR gene mutation is another brilliant move by medical science, by the medical establishment, to keep the blame on us and our faulty bodies. They'll do anything they can, from the gene blame game to this gene mutation to autoimmune to hormone, whatever they can do to keep the blame on us and our faulty bodies, and steer us away from what's really happening in terms of why someone's suffering, so ultimately so they can avoid lawsuit. I mean, look what's happening right now with Roundup. They've finally been able to have a link, and the lawsuits are incredible. So, but when you're talking about that gene mutation, that's a state of someone's liver. That's a viral condition. Epstein-Barr virus is behind that gene mutation. And medical science has that completely wrong. And they're giving people that diagnosis, and it's leading them down a wrong road. They're not struggling because they have a gene mutation. They're struggling because they've got viruses, they've got bacteria, they've got toxins, and all these different troublemakers in their body. So that's how that's working.
Right. And then let's jump in and talk about the thyroid, because I know I have so many friends, and I know you hear it all the time, like, oh, I have this going on with my thyroid. I have Hashimoto's. I have, an underactive thyroid, overactive thyroid. So let's jump in and like talk about like what's really going on there and how, same thing. Maybe people have not quite been being told the right information.
Yeah. So real quick, with iridology, one of the major areas of weakness I see when I'm analyzing someone's iris, people's thyroids are showing up left and right. I see all kinds of thyroid weakness when I'm looking into the iris. So right now, the big thing is you have an autoimmune thyroid. They're telling us that our immune systems have made a mistake. That's why you see these antibodies, which they're labeling autoantibodies in the thyroid, and we're being told essentially that our bodies are attacking healthy thyroid tissue. That's a completely bogus way to go about this. Our bodies would never attack anywhere in our body, any healthy tissue, thyroid or anywhere else. God did not create our body, so in the last 50 years, everyone's body just started to turn on themselves.
Right.
Epstein-Barr virus, after someone has mononucleosis, that's your active Epstein-Barr virus. After you have mono, it jumps to your liver, your spleen, and your reproductive system, and it goes dormant. It goes dormant, it hides out, it starts to feed, it evades detection because they lack the technology. So we'll call mono stage 2 of Epstein-Barr virus. Stage 3, it's sitting in the liver, it's moved in there, it's dormant. Stage 3, it moves to the thyroid. Epstein-Barr virus waits for the person's immune system to drop and lower, whether it's a trauma, stress, and exposure, whatever it may be. That virus is very patient, but it loves to go to the thyroid and get in that thyroid tissue, because that's where it can confuse the immune system and ultimately reach its ultimate goal of stage 4 when it attacks a person's nervous system and a person deals with neurological illness. The ultimate goal of an Epstein-Barr virus. But it has to get to the thyroid before that ever happens, because that's where it gets in and can start to confuse that immune system. Different strains of Epstein-Barr virus make their way up into the thyroid, and they drill into that thyroid tissue. Depending on the strain of virus you have and what toxins and bad foods you're eating that are fueling that virus, you can find yourself with a hyper or a hypo diagnosis. Obviously, hypo then moves to a Hashimoto's, but also thyroid nodules, cysts, goiters, thyroid cancer, all Epstein-Barr virus sitting in someone's thyroid wall. They lack the technology to see that virus in that tissue, and they see these antibodies, and they're thinking that they can't see the virus, so they think that the immune system is attacking healthy thyroid tissue, when in actuality, the immune system is tagged an invader. It's tagged an Epstein-Barr virus. It's trying to go after it. It's trying to attack it. And it's that those autoantibodies they're telling you they're antibodies that are telling the person, I need help. Help support me so I can go in and take care of this viral condition in this thyroid tissue. If everyone got that information when they walked in, instead of walking out of it with being told that their body's attacking the thyroid, what could be worse news than that? You're already struggling with symptoms from a weakened thyroid, and from Epstein-Barr virus, and then you're actually told that your body's attacking itself. I mean, what could be worse news when you're trying to get better from something, when it's completely bogus? And that goes for any autoimmune, fibromyalgia, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, whatever they want to label it. It's always viral, and they just lack the technology to find it. So let me tell you, the thyroid cleans up really nicely. You could look in some of my testimonials. My one friend Shelly here, she had 10 years hypothyroidism. She was on 2 different medications, levothyroxine and whatever other one. We had her off both medications in the matter of 3 to 4 months. You're going to see her a follow-up post. She just got her blood work back. 6 months after, all of her thyroid numbers are back to normal. All we did was go in and clean out her thyroid, detoxify her, knock back that viral strain, her thyroid tissue regenerated, and now she lives a life free from hypothyroidism. Anyone can do that. Nobody knows how. No one has a target. No one knows what to go after. So that's a really terrible thing, and I see it all the time, because everyone's got Epstein-Barr virus. There's over 65 strains. People are carrying multiple strains, and it's always going to people. It used to be in my thyroid. It was a huge problem for me. I didn't know it was in there, but before I had my neurological illness, of course, it was in my thyroid, and I had to have the symptoms to prove it. So yeah, that's kind of how that's going with the thyroid issues. If you have an autoimmune thyroid, you have an Epstein-Barr virus issue. You have a toxin issue. We've got to go in and get it cleaned out, and you can drop your diagnosis, get off your medications, and get your blood work back to normal. I promise you, it's not hard to do.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that I love so much about seeing all the testimonials that you've shared, is all the different people that have various different things going on. Like you said, your friend Shelly's had it, for 10 years. But the common denominator being all of them were told essentially, maybe not exactly in this way, but like essentially like, oh, there's no cure for this. So, here's the medicine you can take the rest of your life, it'll be fine. When in reality, like there's so much, freedom on the other side of actually truly getting down to the root cause and healing from it.
I mean, thyroids heal up really nicely. I heal someone's thyroid with my eyes closed. It's not a hard area to go after. And I go to some of these people and I tell them the information, and they're like, wait a minute. They're like, I was told that my thyroid's gone wrong, my immune system's gone wrong, and this is the way that my life's going to be. And just I'm this it's almost hard for them to believe that they could live a life free of medication and free from that diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but sure enough, a couple months later, we got them off the medications, and their symptoms are gone, and they're going for blood work, and their blood work's back to normal. Not hard to do.
Yeah. So what would be something you would say to someone that we have watching who's like, okay, this speaks to me. I have things going on, but like, I'm just not sold yet. My doctor said XYZ. What would be like, kind of your parting words you'd want to leave them with of why they need to reach out and get, a second opinion and do a consult with you?
Well, the first thing I'll say is if you're dealing with an allopathic medical doctor, you want to leave them as quick as possible. There,
I agree.
there's no healing in that world. There's nothing I can do for you, for a client, until they're willing to really start to part ways with the allopathic way of thinking when it comes to healthcare and chronic illness in particular. You've got to recognize that they're not properly trained. No fault of theirs. They went to medical school and got a load of crap. They don't know what causes hypothyroidism or thyroid cancer or anything like that. So you have to break free of that. And you want to find yourself a free thinking, outside of the box healer who's got, the evidence to support what they're doing. They've got testimonials. They've healed from their own things. They're people. You want to find a good healer that resonates with you. For me, the first thing I always recommend to people coming in, let's get an iridology analysis. First thing we do here, let me look in and see the state of your thyroid tissue. People get misdiagnosed as well. And let's see where we're at. Let's see what's going on in the body. Let's see how the lymphatic system's functioning, how the liver looks. Iridology allows us to do that, and it can show things that blood work and imaging and even symptomology hasn't yet shown. So that's the first route I would always go as an iridologist. And then obviously recognizing and getting the belief that your body can heal is really critical too. And usually that is part of moving away from allopathic medicine to where you can get the belief that your body can actually heal, that your body's designed to detoxify and regenerate tissue. And you've got a brilliant natural healing mechanisms, that God-given healing mechanisms that you can heal from just about anything if you're doing the right things and have the right mindset.
Right. Well, and I completely agree. I think that, that belief is, so much of the equation, and people don't realize that. And when you go to to a traditional doctor and you've been given this terrible news, you've been told there's no cure, you've been told you just have to live with it, or maybe worse, maybe you've been told it's something that, is actually going to kill you one day. I feel like people just don't realize that, number one, like just hearing that alone, like that's absolutely terrible for your mindset. Like, half the battle is in your mind and is believing that you can
Yeah.
heal. So I love that you
Brett,
mentioned.
I can't tell you how many people come to me with things that they've dealt with for decades, sometimes their entire life, and they've been told nonstop that that's just part of their life, and there's no getting better from it, and their body's faulty, and they've got poor genes, and they've got their hormones are just fouled up, and just the way life is. They're writing me testimonials sometimes in 6 weeks to 2 months. That's how quickly the body can heal up when you start getting the right information and doing the right things. But more importantly, you get the belief that you can heal. You have to abandon that mindset that your body, that your body is faulty. As long as you think that way, healing is really, really challenging. You have to be able to break free from that, which means breaking free from allopathic medicine, and looking elsewhere. But it's a sin how many people I see come to me who are just like, I've been dealing with this for so long, and they've got no belief that they're able to heal from it. And when they start to heal, they actually get angry.
Right.
Because they get mad at their doctors and people that have been telling them their whole lives that it's the way it's supposed to be for them, and there was no healing. And in a matter of a couple of weeks to a couple of months, sometimes we have the condition completely gone.
Right.
So it could be very aggravating to some people. I'm very thankful that you were open-minded in this and free thinking and realizing that, there's another way out here. And because so many people don't have that belief, and it keeps them suffering. It stops them from living the life that they're meant to live. They just don't have that belief.
Yeah.
So it's a very sad part of this business for me, I'll say.
Yeah. No, it's something that I've always believed in. Like, I literally can remember about 10 years ago, a friend of mine's husband getting diagnosed with cancer and doing like a very aggressive chemo. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's what they wanted to do. And they, were just very scared by the news that they didn't see any other way but what the doctor's recommended treatment plan was. And I just remember saying, when I watched how like rough that was on his body and like their little kids having to watch it and all that, I was like, I would never go through that. Like, if I was faced with that choice, I would much rather dig in and heal naturally and heal holistically than go through something like that where you're wreaking havoc on every ounce of your body, not just the parts that are in there that are bad or shouldn't be. So um, it's crazy to me that not everybody thinks that way and sees that. And I think that's one thing I've always like tried to navigate is like not coming on too strong to people, because some people get very like, what's the word, like very frustrated with you for insinuating there's a way to go about it other than what their doctor says. And I do think it's one of those things, like, everyone's got to come to that conclusion on their own timing when they're ready, and when they realize like, hey, I've been doing what the doctors have said to do for so long and it's clearly not working, why not try something
Yeah.
else?
I'll tell you, you know what aggravates people a lot? When you tell them that they can heal.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I said, told them they can heal for something. They get mad at me. They're like, I can't heal. They want to fight with me and argue that they can heal. And that's just how sad, it's gotten when it comes to that. And, look, anyone who has half a brain knows that chemotherapy is an absolute killer.
Yeah,
Can it save a few people? Sure, but I mean, it destroys their bodies in the process, and chemo kills way more people than it saves.
exactly.
And look, a lot of people too. I live in a black and white world, and where things are what they are, and if you look at what's really going on, it's pretty easy to tell. But some people just aren't there in terms of consciousness yet, and a lot of that is not their fault. Some of it certainly is, but you want to heal, you have to open up your mind. Bottom line, you've got to. One of the things I tell people when they first start me, I say, I need you to forget everything you thought you knew about diet, about your health, about chronic illness. You got to forget about everything you thought you knew and come in with a clean slate here. That's how you heal.
Right.
Because we're just so polluted with nonsense from people who know, from some medical doctors just know absolutely nothing. They can't take care of themselves.
Right.
Half these people telling us how to take care of our health can't take care of themselves. They've got no idea how to live a healthy, happy life, free from pharmaceuticals. So not the type
Well,
of person I would want to take my advice from when it came to my health.
and also, we saw that during COVID, not once during COVID were American doctors asking people what were their diets like. Here's how you can start living healthier and making healthier choices to better set yourself up if something like this, God forbids, happens again. And instead, people, the solution for everybody was like, oh, get the vaccine, you'll be fine. And it's like, but like, how are you going to tell someone that's 600 pounds to go get a vaccine when they could have been doing a lot of other better things for their body to put themselves in a better, position to fight off, something like COVID, or, even something in a different family. And that was just so sad to me, that you saw people literally thinking they could still eat fast food and make all the same unhealthy choices, but get a vaccine and somehow be protected. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not the way our bodies work,
No,
but like you said, like, that's the narrative being pushed down so
I'll
many
tell
people's throats. And
you,
it's,
let's keep in mind that that doctor doesn't get paid if you go fix your diet and go start exercising and doing some healthy things for yourself. They only get paid if you get the vaccine.
yeah,
So there is obviously money rules everything. The ultimate incentive of a medical doctor to push a vaccine on someone as opposed to trying to get yourself healed up and healthy so you can deal with something like COVID. There's no financial incentive for them. So
yeah,
and money has ruled everything here. It's how the medical establishment and medical science here in this country, and world for that matter, has become the most corrupt organization on the history of Earth.
right.
Um, it's the almighty dollar bill. They make more money off us being sick and not well than anyone could ever imagine. And for how people don't see that, I don't know, and keep subscribing to what the medical establishment and medical science is telling us about being healthy. Like, you got to be a dope,
Yep.
and so there ain't no nice way to put it. You have to be a dope.
Yep. Well, for all those who are watching, who are wondering, Quentin, how they can have a consult with you, I know we briefly talked about getting an iridology report analysis, but do you want to go ahead and just briefly jump into, like, if someone's watching, listening, and they're wanting to take that next step, what's the easiest way to reach out to you? What's the easiest way to work with you?
You can message me here on Facebook and find me, but I really work through Instagram, Green Health and Wellness. That's green with an E on the end of it. And just reach out to me there. Or you can also email me at greenhealthandwellness@yahoo.com. Or if you're really, if you know Britt, and you want to reach me directly, she'll be glad to get you my cell phone number, and we'll get you in for an iridology analysis and an in-depth health consult. We'll get you some answers. Most important, the favorite thing about what I do for people is in the very beginning, when we get them the right information about what's really causing their suffering. And it's just an amazing thing to see the change in someone when they finally get the right information. It resonates with them immediately. I always tell people, someone that's been struggling a long time with chronic illness, they always know something's wrong that's being missed, something they can't put their finger on, something they know their doctors can't put their finger on. And you see these people, when they get the right information, it resonates with them immediately. They know it's right. They know it's what they've been missing. They often can become emotional. So let's get you in. Let's get an iridology analysis. Let me get you some answers, and then you'll feel much better. Then you can do whatever you want to do. You can work with me, go work with someone. I don't care. But I want to get you the right information about why you're struggling, about why you have a symptom, a condition, why you're not you have a poor quality of life. Let's get you the right answers, and that makes me happy.
And I cannot stress enough, you guys, like just having that initial consult and like having that initial conversation, like Quentin said, getting those answers, getting that information, that alone is going to make you feel so much better. And so reach out, have that consult, get that iridology analysis scheduled. Quentin, if you want to, whenever we get off, if you want to put in the comments, type your email out just so nobody spells it wrong. But yeah, look them up on Instagram, read the testimonials for yourself. Obviously you guys heard my testimonial. But yeah, if you've been going through the motions and just, listening to whatever, traditional medicine has been telling you, and it's been years now and you're not getting any better, why not make this the year that you actually get some good information?
Yeah.
You actually, step
One
outside the box and see what someone else says.
one last thing, Britt. You cannot heal without the right information. Having the right information is half the battle when it comes to healing. How can you go in? How can you fix something when you don't know what's actually causing it? Well, you've been told something wrong.
Yep.
So you got to get the right information, and your chances of healing grow exponentially once you have the right information and the right targets to go after, and as to why you're suffering. And I can promise you, it's never because your own body went faulty, your own immune system went faulty, and you've got bad genes. It's because bad things have gotten into your body. There are certain industries responsible, medical science, and once you get the right information, though, that's when you can really start to heal.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for being on, Quentin.
Let's
For all of you watching, thanks
let's
for
let's
tuning.
do it again.